I do believe I'm live.
Okay, did you press the blue button?
Yeah, it's starting.
Okay, let me see
I'm
if
live.
I can find you.
Okay, I'm live now.
Hooray!
Okay, good. Welcome, everybody. Thanks, Allison. We'll talk to you later.
Louis.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's the lovely Allison Remchek, everybody. Good morning. I hope you're all seeing this. And welcome to the amazing foolproof How to Start Your Own Novel Pit. My name is Buzbee. I am the author of 3 books for young adults, middle grade readers. Bridge of Time, which is about Mark Twain in San Francisco in 1864. Steinbeck's Ghost, which takes place in Salinas and Monterey, the home of John Steinbeck. And it's about his ghost. And The Haunting of Charles Dickens, which takes place in 1862 in London. And the great man is in search of a lost child. So those are some of the books that I've written. But I've also done a lot of school visits, a lot of teaching, and I've come up with something called the Amazing Foolproof Start Your Own Novel Kit, which I know is really hard to read like this, but there you go. And I want to remind you that if you go to my website today, lewisbusbee.com, I'm happy to send you your own PDF copy of the Amazing Foolproof Start Your Own Novel Kit. So I know that most of you are readers, because you wouldn't be here otherwise. And most people who end up writing books are people who read books and loved books, and at some point thought, hey, I could do that. That's how I started writing when I was 15. And so I want to help you get that book started. You probably all have some little idea about a book that you want to write. The question is where to start, and that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you start this novel of yours? So let me take you through a little bit, page by page, of the Amazing Foolproof How to Get Your Own Novel Started Kit. This is the first page. There you go. And notice that it has some rather simple things on it. Ooh, what's the title of your novel? And then more title if you need it. Some titles are very, very long. And then your name. You can choose to use your name. Or you can use a pseudonym. You can make up a name. So why do I want you to start with these things? A title can really help you understand what your novel's about. Sometimes titles change by the end, but going in, it's sort of an idea that you put in your head that helps you see the entire novel. So what's a good title for your book? Just make one up, one that's going to help you understand what your novel is going to be. So, and then a pseudonym. Why would you want to use a pseudonym, a made-up name, instead of your own name? Well, sometimes you might want to write about, people that are really close to you, and you might not want them to know that you wrote about them. You might also use a pseudonym to stave off all of the fame and fortune. You don't want hordes of people coming to your house asking for money when your novel's a huge hit. Or sometimes you can do it just because it's fun. So think about that. Think about the title. Think about what name you want to use. And it's okay to use your own name. But if you want to use a pseudonym, you can also pretend to be somebody else. Let's move on now. So here's the next page, which I'm not very good at this yet. So it says, where does a story start? Some ideas to think about before you begin. I'm going to read the next part for you. If you want to know the truth, a lot of writing, especially in the beginning, is about staring out the window and thinking and taking lots of notes. I'd spend 6 months staring out the window and doing some reading and scribbling little notes on pieces of paper before I even set out to write the first words of the novel I'm going to be writing. Writers do a lot of sitting in their pajamas and staring out the window. I offer this to you as a wonderful alibi the next time your parents come in and say to you, well, you know what? You should really get outside today because it's a beautiful day. You should go do something. You're just sitting there staring out the window, and you can turn to them and say, Mom, Dad, please, I'm writing a novel. So, writing a novel is a great excuse for sitting and staring out the window. But say you've stared out the window a lot already and you're ready to start. Where does a story start? A novel starts on that day when the ordinary world becomes extraordinary, once upon a time. I'm going to use Harry Potter as examples during today's presentation, because even if you haven't read the books, even if you haven't seen all the movies, you know the story. The story is just part of our culture. So let's look to Harry Potter on that day when the ordinary world becomes extraordinary. Harry's 11 for the last 10 years. He's been living in the cupboard under the stairs at Privet Drive in Little Whinging, living with the Dursleys. His life has been ordinary in a horrible way for about 10 years. We don't follow Harry when he's 3 and 4 and 5 and 7. And we come into the story on the day that Harry gets his letter for Hogwarts. And that's when everything changes. That's always the first place a novel starts, on that day that the ordinary world becomes extraordinary. But in order to do that, you have to understand a little bit about the ordinary world that led up to this extraordinary day. So, let's get into that question in a minute. Right now, we want to talk about where the character is standing when the novel opens. They're standing on the doorstep of their life. Their ordinary world, the house, the place they grew up in, is behind them. And what's looking out in front of them, what they're looking at in front of them, is the rest of the world. And out there adventure lies, and out there a journey awaits them. Imagine your character standing in the doorway, looking out at the world and wondering what adventure lies out there. The novel starts when they take that first step. Harry does leave on that first day the Dursley's house, and he goes to the lighthouse with Hagrid. So the novel always starts with the character leaving their ordinary life behind and going forward into what they hope is going to be their extraordinary life. And thus begins their journey. Because if there's anything that novels are really about, it's the character. It's how that character is going to change over the course of the novel. You can have fabulous worlds like Hogwarts and wizarding, and you can have space stations, and you can have the Hunger Games, and you can have any kind of fabulously conceived world, or you can have a really ordinary world as well. But it's always about the character and how they're going to change on that day and where they're going to go. But this whole notion of the journey, they can't just go wander around in the forest, can they? They have to have a journey has a goal. The character is going somewhere. So how can we describe a journey that will fit each and every character, no matter the setting? A French writer named André Gide once described the novel as a journey from innocence to experience. And I love that phrase. When the novel starts, the character is innocent. When the novel ends, the character is experienced. Think of Harry Potter. On the first day that he gets his letter from Hogwarts, he's very innocent. He doesn't know anything. All he knows really is the inside of the cupboard under the stairs. By the end of the first novel, he's vastly experienced. He's learned to control his wizarding skills. He's learned about his friends. He's learned about how adults will do bad things. He's learned that his journey is actually just beginning. By the end of all 7 novels, Harry is incredibly experienced. His journey has gone from innocence, not knowing very much about the world, to experience, knowing a lot about it and taking part in that world. So think about that. Ask yourself that question. How is the character going to be at the beginning of the novel? And how will they have changed by the very end of the novel? And if you can grab those two pieces of string, you'll know what the story is going to be. You'll know what the journey is that's going to take them from innocence to experience. How will your characters change? And now I'm going to have a sip of coffee because it's still pretty early out here. I hope you guys are doing well out there. I hope you have tons of books to read. And if you don't have tons of books to read in your house, all I can say is, what happened? Where did you go wrong? You really, really need to have more books in your house. Okay, so we've talked about the world changing on that first day. And what I said was they're standing in the doorway of their house, and their ordinary world, the house, is behind them. So in order to understand who your characters are going to become, you'll want to understand who they are and who they have been. You need to understand a little bit more about their ordinary world to know how they're going to change. So this page gives you a whole page to write about. The ordinary world. Describe a house, not the people in it or the world around it, just the house. It can be any kind of a house, or it can be a cave, it can be a spaceship, it can be a nest, it can be a large patch of the ocean. What is that house that your character has been living in their whole life? So this is just the beginning of trying to understand them, understand who that character has been by describing their house. And now you want to just find out even more about the character. The house is about that character and where they live and how they live with other people in that house or not. But we want to know even more about them. So the next step in this process is to write the small picture. And that is describe one room in that house, probably their bedroom, but it could be any room, the room that's most important to them. Fill up this page and this room with as many objects as you can. So think about all of the things in your own room, the posters you might have, the books you might have, the blanket you might have, the rug you might have, all of the little tchotchkes, everything, all your toys, all your not toys, all your schoolwork, everything in that room. Write this really fast. Write it really fast without thinking, and just put down everything that character has in their room. When you figure that out, when you write that down, you'll have figured out a lot more about that character. Do they have lots of sports equipment? Yeah. Do they have lots of musical equipment? Do they have lots of candles? Who knows? It's up to you. Write fast. Be faster than your brain and fill up that room. Okay. Now we have the character, the house. We know more about them because of their room. And then we put them back at the doorway again to see what it is they need to see what it is they see in the world that's going to make them want to go out into the world. So we have the big picture. The big picture. This is the world that the character is going to go out into. So describe the landscape around this house. Is it a city? Is it the country, the desert, the seashore? Is it this planet or some other planet? Is it now or is it in the past or maybe in the future? Be very thorough. Name every last thing you can think of, from flowers to modes of transportation, to the weather, to the color of the sky, to the buildings you can see, to the fauna you can see, to the flora you can see. Let your character look out at the world and look through their eyes and see what they're seeing. And then you'll know more about the world they're going into, the world of experience that is waiting for them. I love this part. I could write about landscape all day long and just leave characters out of it. However, it's always about characters. So, who lives here? Yep. I skipped a page. It got all out of order. Sorry about that. And now we come to that moment. You've established the ordinary world, the room they're from, the house they stand in, looking out at the world that they see. And now what is it that makes this day an extraordinary day? The extraordinary. It's more than ordinary. It's extraordinary. Describe a noise that your character hears. The noise has to come from outside the house. And even though it should be a mysterious noise to the character, you, the writer, have to know what makes that noise. It has to be the kind of noise that will make your character go searching for it. Your character is standing in the doorway, looking out at the big world, and they hear a noise, and they think, I need to go look at that. I need to go find out what that is. Or it could be something that they see. Or it can be something that somebody else does, such as when Harry gets his letter from Hogwarts. What is it out in the world that immediately draws the attention of your character and is going to make them go outside and into that world? It can be a noise, it can be a light, it can be anything. It's something out in the world. So let's pay attention to that. Where to now? This is the next question. They hear the noise. Where does the noise take them? Where to now? Describe where your character is going to go now. Your character opens the door and is so intrigued by this noise or this light or this that he or she will set off in search of it. Make your character leave the house at least for now. They may return to the house later on. Oh, sorry about that. But make them leave the house now. So the first thing that Harry does, of course, when he gets the letter, they have to leave. Hagrid takes Harry out to the lighthouse. And it's there that he goes out to the lighthouse with the Dursleys, and then Hagrid comes on his motorcycle, and they go off to Hogwarts. So that's really getting out of the house. So the question is, where are they going to go? And the world that you've described already is going to give you a lot of clues about where they're going to go from there. So, I'm going to, and this is the important part. I think this is the most, aside from knowing who your character is, I think this is the most important part about starting a novel, is coming up with the end of the novel. It's like I said before, if you understand who that person is when they're innocent at the beginning, and then you can understand how changed they are at the very end, then you're going to know how to get that character from here to there. J.K. Rowling said, well, at the end of this, Harry is going to be a magnificent wizard who defeats the Dark Lord. So how does she start him along that journey? She doesn't just send him to an ordinary school. He doesn't get a job. He doesn't, that immediate thread between the very beginning, that first letter from Hogwarts, and then that last letter from Hogwarts. That last visit to Hogwarts, excuse me. Think about the end. Now, I think when you figure those things out, who the character is, where they have lived, and where they're going into the world, and how that's going to end, that may very well help you write the beginning of the novel. So, there's a lot of other thinking you need to do as well. And this is one of my favorite things to do, because I never write a novel without having a map of that world above my desk. So I could look right up at that one piece of paper and say, oh, that's where my character is today. That's where they're going tomorrow. This is where they were yesterday. And this is a really fun project. Draw a map of your world. Include every single place in it. And I'm talking about the whole big world now. Cities and mountains and rivers and seas and streets and shops and schools and whatever there is in your world. This will help you figure out how to get your character from the beginning of the novel to the end and what they will do along the way. It's important. The map has to fit on one page so you can see the whole thing with one glance. So the map for Harry Potter would be England with a little sidebar to Azkaban, but mostly England. And that's where Harry spends all of his time. He starts in Little Whinging. He goes to Hogwarts. After Hogwarts, they start to go to Hogsmeade. After Hogsmeade, then they start to go down to London. And then after London, they start to go wandering around in the forest. There's a whole couple of books where Harry and Hermione and Ron are wandering around in the forest waiting for something to happen. Every step along the way, the character is going into a new place. And every time a character goes into a new place, they become more experienced. So if you have a map of the entire world of your novel, you'll be able to just look at it and say, hey, how do we get the character over there? That would be an interesting place. I bet something interesting happens over there. And then you try it out. So the map is a way of sort of opening up the possibilities of what your character might do while also putting a nice little fence around it. It's almost impossible. It is impossible to write a book about the entire world. It's far too vast. And so what you do is you make a map and you say, this is the small, big world that my character is going to inhabit. But these are the many possibilities within that smaller world. So in Steinbeck's Ghost, everything takes place in Salinas, where John Steinbeck was born and the main character lives. And between Salinas and Monterey, just a few miles off the coast. I don't know if you've ever been to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. It's one of the best places on the planet. And I had that map of that little area, and my characters then moved around through there. The same is true with Bridge of Time, with Mark Twain in San Francisco. I just had a map of San Francisco up above my desk, and that helped me see where the characters could go. Same is true with Dickens and London. A map to help you see the world, to help make the world bigger in your head. All of these things that I'm talking about today are really things to help inflame your mind, to amplify the vision of the novel in your head so you understand everything about it. Knowing that, having all that information, all that imagination before you sit down to write the first words can be really helpful, because now you know in some way where you're going. Sitting down at the blank piece of paper without any staring out the window, without any pajamas, without any of all that reading, that's just a great big piece of silence. You need to inflame your own imagination with the entire world of this novel before your writing can actually begin. So draw a map of the world. It's fun. Use whatever arts and crafts supplies you have at hand. I prefer colored pencils, possibly a little glitter. It all depends on the novel. So anyway, here's my other favorite part. Actually, every part of this is my favorite part. So here's my other favorite part, the cover. You get a whole page to draw the cover you would like to have on this book. Now, it almost never works out that the cover you want to have for your novel is the cover that the publisher wants to put on the novel. But that's way, way far away. Right now, I'm still talking about building up your sense of what the book is. So draw your own cover. That will tell you, because you've got a title that you're working with. And so if you draw the cover and your vision of the book comes, because you already know a lot about book covers because you've been staring at them for years. The cover that you draw, that you want for your book, is going to tell you a little bit about what kind of book it is. Is it going to have fairies? Is it going to have a rock? Is it going to have two people with their backs to the audience looking at some object. We all know that cover. It's the cover where the teen is standing with their back to the viewer, looking out into the distance. I actually am the proud owner of one of those covers. This is the cover for Bridge of Time. How does this work? Yeah, see, they have their backs to us, and they're looking into the distance. Whatever you want your book to look like, whatever cover you think is going to make the book buyer want to pick that up, that if you can put that down on paper and have fun and play with it, then that will tell you a lot about the kind of book that you want to write. The other thing about the back to the audience cover that I just showed you with Bridge of Time is it really is, it can be a sort of a cliche, but it's actually meaningful. It's that character looking forward into the world and going out into the world. That's what characters do. I gotta stop for just a second because it's really early for a writer. Here's the other great thing. I know I've mentioned it several times already. I'm a huge fan of working in my pajamas, which is why I like being a writer. It is a really great excuse to just spend all day in your pajamas. And I know these days we're all spending a lot of time indoors, so you're probably halfway there. You're probably wearing pajamas more than you would normally. So you might as well write a book, because what else are you going to do? Read and write. This is a good time. And then you can just keep that habit and just say, again, Mom, Dad, please go away. I'm in my pajamas and staring out the window because I'm busy writing a book. They tend to leave you alone. Okay, let's go on to 2 more pages, and then I'll see if anybody has any questions. So who's your main character? That's one thing. You've already done some work on that. But here's the next question. Who's the narrator? Decide who is going to tell your story. You're almost ready to start this novel, but first you have to decide who is going to be the narrator of your novel. Will it be a first-person narrator? Call me Ishmael at the beginning of Moby Dick. Some years ago, never mind precisely how many, having little or nothing in particular to interest me on shore and no funds to do it, I thought I would set about to see the watery part of the world. That's the beginning of Moby Dick. Close to the beginning of Moby Dick. That's a first-person narrator. That's the character telling you their own experiences as they're going through it. The other option that you have, really, is a third-person narrator. Where's my Harry Potter book? This is Harry Potter. Harry Potter saw the owl flew in through the open door. Harry Potter went to Hogwarts on a train. It's somebody else telling Harry's story. Once you decide which you're more comfortable with, then you can just take off running and see how that goes. What are the differences? If it's first person, you have really immediate access to their emotions and their thoughts, etc. When it's third person, we get a lot bigger view of things. So J.K. Rowling has so much to tell us about the world of witchcraft and wizardry and Hogwarts and Muggles and Hogsmeade and all of that, and the Ministry for Magic. She has so much to tell us about this entire world that, hello, I lost my place. That she has decided to tell it in the third person because Harry's too busy having his adventures to tell his own story. So she's going to tell it for him. Most of the time, if you're going to choose first or third, when you choose first or third, most of the time, you're going to do it instinctively, whatever feels best to you. And here's a great little exercise. If you start writing and you're not comfortable, you start with the first person and you're not really comfortable with it, take those exact same words and turn them into the third person. Take a page and go from first to third. Or if you're writing in third, take a page and switch it from third person to first person. Harry Potter went to the room of requirements. Well, that would become, I went to the room of requirements. And do that for a page or two and find out which you're more comfortable with. It's really up to you. In this matter and in all matters when it comes to writing, there are no answers. There are no right answers and there's no wrong answers. You have to experiment, you have to try, and then you keep trying again. That's good news, though. There's no wrong way to do it. If you write a good story that people want to read, no matter how you wrote it, no matter what form it takes, it doesn't matter if you broke any rules. There are no rules. Good to keep in mind. So I'm going to go back over the first person. No, I don't. So think about the difference between the first person narrator and the third person narrator and figure out which one you think is going to be best for your story. Okay, this is where we actually get started. Chapter 1. Yeah. We always start at the beginning. Once we know the ending, we always start at the beginning, right? Figure out the ending, then you go back and you're at the beginning. Start writing the first chapter. Just comes a time, though, and after all the pajamas and all the sitting and staring out the window, there does come a time when you got to sit down and put words on a page. This is how all books get written. There is no shortcut. You have to sit down and write it word by word. So, done all this thinking, you've done your cover, you've done all of that. You've blown up your whole brain with all of these huge worlds and characters. Start writing your first chapter. Go back to your character's house and put that mysterious noise or light or gesture or person in the very first sentence. Make sure the character hears it or sees it and responds to it. In that first paragraph, make sure the reader knows what day it is, what time it is, what the weather's like, and don't forget what the house is like. Make the reader see and feel all of these things. What's really important about that first paragraph, it's really important, is we have to understand the mystery of the novel that's just about to open up, and we have to know where we are. The reader loves to jump around all over the place in books. We don't mind that, but we always want to know where we are when we jump and when we are when we jump and where we land and when we land. Locate the reader. The reader's your best friend. The reader's not someone to pull a trick on. The reader's your best friend. The reader wants to be on your side, so give the reader all the information you can give the reader. Make sure the reader knows what day it is, what time it is, what the weather's like. Always put in weather. And don't forget the house. Once again, make the reader see and feel all of these things. Okay, I'm doing one more page. Because I'm going to have some coffee. I'm doing one more page. This is a really good page. Trouble getting started? Listen, as much as we all think, I'm really going to write this novel, and we sit down, it's a nice day, and I think I'll go have a sandwich. Maybe I'll look at the internet for a while. Here's an important thing I do. I have two computers. One's hooked up to the internet, and I don't do any writing on it. One is not hooked up to the internet, and that's where I do all my writing. So I get a lot more writing done. So, keep that in mind. I also write by longhand a lot. It doesn't really matter if you write by hand or if you type on a computer. It's all still writing. But if you're having trouble, switch. If you've been writing on a computer and you feel blocked, then go write longhand. If you're writing longhand, maybe it's too slow. Try the computer. Change your habit a little bit. So anyway, trouble getting started? Read for inspiration. By reading how other writers have tackled the same problems, you can often figure out how to go forward yourself. Compare the opening paragraphs of 3 of your favorite novels. How are they different and how are they alike? Do they give you any ideas for your own first paragraph? This is a really great tool for writers. Just pick 3 of your favorite novels, take them down, put them all next to each other, just read the first paragraph and the first page of all three. And you'll see how similar they are. You'll see how the ordinary world and the extraordinary world meet there. You'll see that that the reader's located, where we are and when we are, etc. Read those three together and just study them a little bit. Here's also a good trick if you're really having trouble getting started, and we've all done this, and this is how, in some ways, writers learn to write. Take that first paragraph and just put your names and etc. in there. In other words, steal. Try it out. Just copy it out. Put your world into the same strategy that the writer is using. And then you can sort of figure out from there a way into it. Once you get started writing, and it's really hard in the beginning, once you get started writing, it's usually smooth sailing from there on out. And then this page. What? There it is. Keep writing. The only way to finish a book is to keep writing. And it doesn't take as long as you would think. If you write 1 page a day, in a month, you'll have 30 pages. And you all know you can write 1 page in a day. If you have 1 page a day, you'll have 30 pages in a month, and that's very impressive. 2 pages a day? That's 60. If you write 1 page a day for a year, you have 365 pages. It adds up, but it takes time, and there's no shortcut. Word by word is the only way that we write. And then here's another, well, they're all important pages, I guess. More blank paper. Yeah, you're going to still need to be writing. You're going to need a lot of paper to write. And all you can do is really go forward. A lot of people hate to write and find it really tedious and dull. For those of you who are writing your own novels, make sure that you like doing this. Make sure that it's fun. Don't become the super serious writer. Writing is fun. Writing is, you're making up an entire world in your head, and then with little black squiggles on a piece of paper, that world comes to life. So it's a kind of magic in its own right, and it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be like schoolwork. So, and that's what you want to do. You want to be having fun so that when the reader picks it up, even though it might be a serious book, the reader is also still having fun. So we got a few minutes left. I mean, that's, I just wanted to introduce you guys to the amazing Foolproof Start Your Own Novel Kit. Again, if you go to my website, lewisbuzbee.com, and send me an email through there, happily send you a PDF so you can try it out at home. And then be in touch and let me know how it's going. Few minutes left. Anybody have any questions? There's some people out there. See that Trisha Griffin has got pajamas, check, window, check, sitting, check. Oh, excuse me. Well, nobody has any questions. You know what? I'm going to do a little bit of reading then for you. We've talked about first paragraphs in the beginning. So this is the beginning of my novel, The Amazing, the Steinbeck's Ghost. And this takes place in Salinas, California. He finally found the word he had been looking for, Camazotz. The moment Travis Williams stepped out of his house into the warm September afternoon, the word came to him. For months, ever since he and his parents had moved into the new house, he'd been trying to figure out what was so creepy about this place, and now he knew. He stepped off the porch into the bright sunshine and whispered the word Camazotz. A Wrinkle in Time was one of Travis's favorite books. He'd first borrowed it from the library a couple of years ago when he was 11 and had probably borrowed it 3 times since, read it he didn't know how many times. Whenever he thought of the book, he pictured the planet Camazotz. On Camazotz, everything was perfect. Every house was exactly like every other house, every lawn like all the rest. Every garden grew the same kind of flower and the exact same number of those flowers. Everyone in Camazotz dressed like everyone else, and they all did the same thing and at the same times. One child played ball in front of each house, and each ball bounced to the same beat. Camazotz was supposed to be a perfect planet, and in a way, Travis thought it was perfect, perfectly creepy. Bella Linda Terrace, where Travis lived, was supposed to be perfect too. At least that's what Travis's parents told him. The house was big and brand new, much bigger than the old house. Bathrooms galore, huge bedrooms, and in the living room, cathedral ceilings. His parents said cathedral ceilings in breathy voices, as if these were the magic words that might open Aladdin's cave. That's a little bit of that. Thank you guys for coming. I hope you have great days. I hope you have lots of good food, lots of good books ahead of you. And again, write to me, send me a request for the Amazing Foolproof How to Start Your Own Novel Kit, and I'll pop it along right to you. Enjoy. Bye.